Tonight, the Transportation Safety Board is investigating today's incident at St. John's Airport.
I'm live tonight at the airport with more details about today's landing that went off the runway.
Local fire departments frequently attend emergencies outside of their city limits, and that costs cities a lot of money.
So that could be a motor vehicle accident, that could be a hazardous waste spill, that could be to secure a scene of an accident or do traffic control. Our fire departments are usually first on scene and first responders.
Tonight we'll talk about how government is investing a little bit more in those fire services.
In an area known as Charlie's Place on Gander Lake, where an MOU has been signed between the Nature Conservancy of Canada and Halapu First Nation.
Even back generations, this area was real important to, for locals, for sustaining your family and in regards to hunting, trapping and stuff, and, just for day-to-day life.
We'll have that story tonight on Here and Now.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. We begin at St. John's International Airport, where a plane went off the runway late this afternoon. Now the Transportation Safety Board says it's deploying a team of investigators, and our Henrika Wilhelm is reporting live from the airport tonight. So Henrika, what have you learned?
Yes, Carolyn. So this afternoon, a PAL charter flight overran the runway. It was an incoming flight from Halifax, supposed to land shortly after 3 p.m. According to flight trackers, the plane attempted to land. Then at 1,900 feet, it decided to turn around. It circled, waiting for permission to land once again. And then during that second landing attempt, it overran the runway. Now, it's been really foggy here in St. John's all day, so much so that when we were positioned behind the airport fence, we could barely see the plane. Now, at this point, we don't know what or if any role that has played in the incident. YYT has a special landing system that's supposed to help any air traffic coming in to deal with fog and low visibility, and that runway is currently shut down. And we were told that the airport would hold a press conference at around 5:30 this afternoon, but then very short that it was actually cancelled, and that instead a second news release would be sent out. And according to that press release, no crew members or passengers were injured, and passengers were told to hang tight and wait for any updates on their flight status. We do know that the Transportation Safety Board of Canada has deployed investigators. It will send 2 officials here to St. John's to determine what happened so that the aircraft overran the runway. And the incident has certainly caused some disruptions here at the airport, not just with passengers with PAL Airlines, but with all airlines who are being told to check their flight status to keep updated. And also, most arrivals and departures have been cancelled at this point. Reporting live, I'm Henrika Wilhelm in St. John's.
Well, in other news, the province's housing minister says a lot of work needs to happen before the province signs off on an affordable housing project in Gander. This after a CBC story earlier this week about the town's frustration. Gander wants to turn an abandoned church into housing. The town bought the building for $500,000 2 years ago, but it's still waiting for money the province promised. CBC's story led to this exchange in the House of Assembly.
It's amazing how they can spend $21 million plus on a hotel in the city of St. John's, sole source, no problem at all, have it done in a matter of a couple of months, and here we are talking about an issue that's been on the books for more than 2 years. So again, I simply ask, when will this building be opened?
Within the first 3 weeks, I think, since I took over this portfolio, I met with the mayor, some of the councillors, as I mentioned, and I also went to the site and toured it. I spoke to them in detail about this. We are also working behind the scenes, as the MHA for the area just mentioned. He contacted the mayor on Monday, and as a matter of fact, we're talking about another project with them. It's in the works and hopefully going to be announced in just a little while as soon as we can sign off. We're also waiting for the town to rezone that property so that we can look at what cost is involved in not only renovating the building, because we have been told it's extensive, but also the operation of it afterwards, Mr. Speaker. So what we're going to do with them is continue to work with both sides, the hub and the town, to make sure that this is done properly.
Well, residents living in an encampment near the Colonial Building tell CBC News they're feeling anxious as more tents and personal belongings were removed today. As you can see in this video, contractors removed tents and other items and packed them into a U-Haul. Now, volunteers say they believe these items are being taken to the landfill. Yesterday, Housing Minister Fred Hutton said the camp will close. Signs have cropped up at the site stating that structures like tents aren't allowed and will be removed. Housing advocate Mark Wilson fears not all people living in the tents will be eligible for transitional housing being set up at a former hotel near the airport.
That not everybody from Tent City is going to go to the Comfort Inn. So we need to look at the acuity and the eligibility that will allow entrance there. And really, it's an insignificant conversation at this moment because it's not even open. So you know, we're left wondering if transportation infrastructure, if John Abbott's going to evict people, if Fred Hutton's going to evict Tent City, where are they going to go? And it's right now, it's not the Comfort Inn. That's not an option.
People fed up with the rising cost of food kicked off a countrywide boycott of Loblaw stores today. The move includes Dominion stores, Shoppers Drug Mart, and offshoots like No Frills. And those frustrated shoppers say their boycott of the store will last all month.
I've seen all the people that are suffering, you know, from lack of food. I also work with some other groups, and you know, we're constantly trying to feed families. And you know, you see these big monopolies that are making mega bucks, billions and billions of dollars, and people can't afford to eat, you know. And now they got the security. It's just like going into a prison. You know, and I mean, we're customers, you know, we're not going in there to steal or rob. You know, we're going in there to purchase products from them at exorbitant prices, by the way. And, you know, I just felt that if I could do anything to help somebody, so I mean, I'm retired, but like I'm lucky, I'm still able to work. So, you know, I can work, but like I have friends who are both retired, they're on a fixed income, you know, and like the food has become such a portion of their income that, you know, something has to give. You either buy your food, you pay your rent, you know, you buy your drugs. If you don't, you know, if you're on a limited income, and I think about people with kids, I mean, like for formula for a baby, it's $67 here. I just left Boston, 29 bucks. I think it's gouging myself. I think that it started out during the, you know, epidemic. Everybody, you know, you could get away with it, and now they've just gone crazy with it.
Your total is $36.02.
As an independent, we just buy from Coleman's stores in Newfoundland. They have a wholesale division. We are not able to buy ourselves now because of our size. We're a small little company, one store. So we had to buy from a wholesaler. In this case, we went with Coleman's to keep it local, and they do a good job. But as regards to us, we're struggling in this market, same as the customer. We basically have to follow the pricings of our wholesaler, and you know, we're not in that same market as Loblaws and Sobeys to do anything about the pricing, right? We're struggling ourselves just to keep going. As an independent, it's very different these days, harder. You know, the COVID thing happened, the staffing thing is still a big problem. So, you know, every week is a struggle type of thing. But, you know, the customers complain to me, I try to explain to them our situation. Some of them understand, but they're not happy, right?
Well, that countrywide protest started with a Reddit group called Loblaws is Out of Control, and it starts the same day Loblaw companies reported more than $13 billion in first quarter revenue, and that's up 4.5% from last year. The company says it's doing what it can to fight inflation at its stores, but Loblaw and other major grocers are under intense scrutiny for reporting higher profits as some Canadians struggle to afford groceries.
Food prices has gone crazy.
Groceries are way out of whack. I mean, you know, you can't get a pound of butter now less than $5 to $6. One time you get it for $1.99. The vegetables have gone crazy. Everything's gone crazy.
Oh, well, I've noticed Costco especially has almost double what we used to pay for some things.
The meats are, you can't look at them. Go look at prices now, you just got to pass it by. If something you want, you got to look at the price there. No, not getting it. I mean, $12 for a little roast. It's ridiculous.
I haven't had meat in a while. I can't buy no meat anymore.
There's only me and my husband at home, so we don't have a big lot of grocery shopping to do, but, you know, I pity people who have large families.
Milk has gone up. Bread has gone up.
I go out to the store, I try and find the lowest price on everything. Like, it's ridiculous, especially when you're on a monthly income, right? I shop around. That's right now, they're boycotting Dominion, and I ain't going there.
Well, municipalities across the province are getting a major and much-needed boost to offset the high costs that come when some first responders answer a call outside the community. Here Now's Colleen Connors explains.
For commuters, it can be an inconvenience. Halted on the highway, bumper to bumper, waiting while the firefighters from the nearest station respond to the scene.
Bill, that could be to secure a scene of an accident or do traffic control. You know, our fire departments are usually first on scene and first responders in those types of emergencies.
For local fire departments, it can be costly. Each time they leave their municipality to assist with an outside emergency, they pay the price for backup staff, fuel, equipment. The province has a policy where departments can claim some of those costs, but municipalities have been saying it isn't enough.
Operating a municipality, we are already stretched to the max when we're dealing with infrastructure and recreation needs and just basic services provided to our communities and our residents. So any additional costs related to fire services would come back on the municipality, and we would be responsible for finding those funds.
Cody and the province's fire association lobbied government for more money, and it delivered, with an increase of $400,000 for a total of $525,000. It's the first increase in years.
So we heard their concerns, and that's why we made a decision as a government to increase the budget right now to pay for those increased costs. And as everything is going up in cost, certainly fuel has gotten more expensive, so really a large portion of the increase in the budget will be to cover costs of fire trucks that have to use more fuel to travel to the highway.
We're very happy that the provincial government is listening to us.
So how does this all work exactly? We'll say the Corner Brook Fire Department has to go to the scene of an accident on the highway outside of the city boundary. Before, they could claim $350 for the first 3 hours of service. Municipalities NL is looking for $350 per hour for the first 3 hours. Now, the Department of Justice and Public Safety says that the details of this new policy really haven't been finalized just yet. Some of the $400,000 will go into researching how much money municipalities are spending on outside services. With more and more natural disasters like floods and forest fires, the need seems to be growing. This money is not for fighting house fires in nearby towns or local service districts. That's a different agreement altogether. I'm told the policy will be updated at the next stakeholders meeting. Colleen Connors, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Well, the fog is still sticking around, but at least it's not as wet as it was yesterday. Temperatures again, pretty beautiful today. Marystown, 18 degrees this afternoon in that offshore flow. You head towards the coast, though, really starting in Hopedale or starting in Nain, -1, and really we're seeing about 9 degrees in St. John's today. So temperatures are starting to warm up just a little bit from where they were yesterday. Bonavista topping out at about +4. And we're still seeing those mild temperatures for the west coast as well. Corner Brook, 13 degrees, 14 in Burgeo. But like I said, not as nearly as wet as yesterday, but we do still have some showers and some drizzle and some fog sticking around at the moment, and that rainfall warning is still in place up across portions of Labrador. We'll talk about how much rain has fallen and how much more rain is yet to fall when we come back in a little bit. But here's a look at what's happening right now. So visibility down to about 0.2 kilometers in St. John's. The good news, as we head towards the weekend, we're going to see a little bit of relief in that front, especially by Saturday. We'll get into all the details coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, what's the point of having fines if you've never laid one? That's what Tory politician Helen Conway-Ottenheimer is wondering in the wake of a CBC Investigates story on a local HVAC company. Atlantic Standard HVAC left customers, including one of her constituents, without a promised warranty, and that has raised questions about what protection consumers have in this province. Ariana Kelland has more.
When a consumer makes a complaint about a business to the provincial government, it can be handled in a couple of different ways. This legislation lays out the options, everything from mediation to fines. We obtained this spreadsheet through Access to Information, and it breaks down the complaints in the last year and a half and what was done about them. Fines haven't been laid in any of these cases.
They may exist on the books and the law is there, but if it's not being enforced, it's essentially a toothless tiger. It tells us that the regime that they have in place is not only ineffective, but it's not holding anyone accountable.
Helen Conway-Ottenheimer familiarized herself with the process earlier this year after she received a complaint from an elderly constituent. He purchased a heat pump from Atlantic Standard HVAC, but was unable to reach anyone to access his 12-year labor warranty. Conway-Ottenheimer wanted to get him answers and contacted the Department of Digital Government and Service NL. And while the department tried to help, the constituent says it didn't satisfy his concerns. That led Conway-Ottenheimer to take a closer look at the legislation. The province's Consumer Protection Act prohibits unfair and unconscionable business practices, but the department couldn't find any instance where a fine has ever been laid against a business. The onus is actually on the consumer to go to court themselves, and there's no record of that happening either.
I think there need to be significant reforms to the current legislation, and that has to happen quickly.
But the department says a complaint doesn't always mean a business did wrong or contravened the act, and that oftentimes complaints can be resolved by working with the consumer and business. Conway-Ottenheimer says a consumer watchdog could help fill in any gaps.
So it would provide that opportunity and that avenue to provide advice, as well as perhaps if we had a consumer advocate, they could as well provide enforcement powers. They could have enforcement powers to fine individuals.
Other provinces like Ontario lay charges that could result in jail time or a hefty fine, and it's in the process of beefing up what it already has on the books. Now, a spokesperson here in this province says it is watching what Ontario is doing and is in the process of reviewing that bill, but no promises for change on the horizon. Ariana Kelland, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, meantime, Minister Sarah Studley defended her department's record today. She says she's proud of what they've accomplished and says fines are still a possibility, even if none have been laid yet.
There is an ability for there to be a fine. I believe it's for a company, it's between $5,000 and $50,000 fine. And so if, our department in working with public prosecutions, if we felt that was appropriate, then that's a direction that we would take in conjunction with public prosecutions in a similar way that we do for occupational health and safety.
Well, the case of two men switched at birth back in 1962 came up in the House of Assembly today. Craig Avery and Clarence Hines were in their 50s when they learned they were switched at birth at a provincially run hospital and come by chance. Now they're looking for compensation. Here now's Mark Quinn has this update.
It's caused both men and their families immeasurable pain.
I don't know how you can describe it. It's so hurtful. It's like your heart is broken all the time.
Avery and Hines want compensation and an apology from the province. But for years they've been told the province's statute of limitations means they're too late. Today, the Progressive Conservatives advocated for Avery and Hines in the House of Assembly.
Other provinces have done the right thing and ordered formal apologies and compensation. The Premier of Manitoba recently apologized to 2 individuals in his province on the floor of the legislature. Why do Mr. Avery and Mr. Hines deserve any less?
And if anyone on lawyers for those individuals want to discuss settlements or proposals, I'm sure that individuals in the Department of Justice will look at it as it works its way through the court. There is a Public Apology Act, and we do consider that when we look at any settlement proposals and discussions, so I'm sure that can be dealt with in the courts as appropriate. Thank you.
The Honourable Member Chair Oldham. Speaker, 9 years they've been asking this government for that. They shouldn't be asking. They should not have to ask. Government should offer it up without being prompted. They know it. It's been on CBC. It's been all over.
And I'm not going to talk about a case here in the House or publicly at all about a case that's before the courts. But I will take this away and I'll discuss it with the individuals in the department, officials in the department, to see what the status is. And happy to report back to the member if he has authorization to speak outside of the House about this matter.
Hines and Avery's is one of a number of cases that have come to light over the past few years. In 2022, Here and Now also reported on the case of Arlene Lush and Caroline Weir Green, who were switched at birth in Springdale in 1969. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, the Halibut First Nation has partnered with the Nature Conservancy of Canada to try to protect an area of Gander Lake known as Charlie's Place. The groups signed an MOU to conserve biodiversity and preserve cultural ties. Here Now's Troy Turner has the story.
Wedged between the southwest and northwest rivers flowing into Gander Lake, Charlie's Place has been used by generations of people here. For the Mi'kmaq in the area, it holds special meaning.
Charlie's Place is a very significant area. A lot of families from here have hunted and fished and, used this way in very traditional ways for years and years, thousands of years. And, we've marked the occasion by signing the MOU with the Nature Conservancy of Canada so we can continue to protect areas like Charlie's Place.
Justin Hodge grew up in the area. He started a campaign to protect the land about 3 years ago.
Even back generations, this area was real important to for locals, for sustaining your family in regards to hunting, trapping and stuff, and, just for day-to-day life.
According to a statement from Halibut, the area is home to several species at risk, including 2 birds. There are also 177 species of lichen at Charlie's Place, including some new to Canada, as well as an abundance of rare blue felt lichen.
So these forests are now classified as ancient, which is all this stuff with the birds and stuff, it's just verifying of stuff that we've known here. But it's this MOU, I think, and this understanding here with all our other partners and with the community and stuff, I think we really have a good chance of setting something aside for our children, right?
We are sensitive to the fact that we're here to support Halibut's lead on what Charlie Place is to become. Obviously we're a conservation organization. If Halibut wants to take it a different direction, maybe that's not a road that we're going to go down with them, but as long as they are interested in this becoming a conservation area, that Charlie's Place would be protected for the, the beautiful ecosystems that it supports, we're quite happy to kind of work with them.
Charlie's Place is located in an area of the province slated for gold exploration. The Nature Conservancy says talks are going well so far.
There's been, several open and frank discussions between NCC and Newfound Gold and Halibut First Nation about the intentions that Halibut First Nation has for this area to protect it. And they've been initially pretty receptive to that and willing to keep the dialogue going and seek a solution.
Indigenous people always, lived by the way of only taking what we need. And that has to be the way for everything. We take what we need and we respect the land and we don't just take and damage. We offer something in return. We make sure that we clean up our mess after we leave. We don't leave things behind to damage the environment.
While the signing of the MOU is an important first step, both the Nature Conservancy of Canada and Halibut First Nations say there's still a lot of work to be done, and they hope to work with the companies who have interest in developing this land to see if they can come to an agreement on the conservation of this area in the future. Troy Turner, CBC News, Charlie's Place, Gander Lake.
When fishing gear gets washed away in a storm or it breaks loose because a rope frays, it's known as ghost gear, and there's a lot of it out in the ocean.
So many of these marine species
that are potentially could be ingesting plastics are also important wild food species.
The nonprofit groups that pull this gear out of the water say they haven't heard whether or not funding is going to be available, and they're worried about whether they'll be able to continue that work this year.
Well, we've got some showers working their way across the province, or at least across the island at the moment. There is lots more where that came from, though, through the day tomorrow. I'll get into all the details in a few minutes.
This weather update is brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation Home Lottery. The early bird prize deadline is midnight Friday, May 10th. Order tickets now at hcfhomelottery.ca.
Ashley, a lot of people talking about all this gray, foggy weather that we've been getting day after day. How much longer is this going to be sticking around?
Well, we've got a couple more days of this onshore flow for now, but at least today wasn't as wet as it was yesterday. That is going to change, though, as we head through tomorrow. But for now, we're looking at a whole lot of cloud cover across a good chunk of the island. But again, if you're in off that offshore flow, you are seeing some much nicer weather south coast, the Burin Peninsula today. Outstanding weather this afternoon. But for the most part, we're still seeing that wintry mix up across Labrador, and your temperatures are sitting into the single digits, just barely above zero. In fact, staying below zero in Nain this afternoon. The warm spot today was Marystown at 18 degrees, and we are still seeing those temperatures into the teens for most areas, and still sitting there at the moment. 14 degrees in Stephenville, beautiful evening, and 12 degrees in Deer Lake at the moment. But if we take a look at what's happening satellite radar-wise, just to give you a better picture, we are still seeing some of those showers work their way through Central. They're fairly light at this point, nothing too significant. And as we head through tonight, that's really what we're going to continue to see. So our visibility is down to about 200 meters at the airport right now, and otherwise pretty much unlimited with the exception of Cartwright, down to about 2 kilometers. But we are going to see a change, and that will be as we head towards the weekend. Now, it isn't going to be because we're going to see the change in wind direction, because that is going to stick around as we head through Saturday, but a ridge of high pressure is going to dominate the weather picture, so it should improve the visibility for the time being. We are going to see a change in the wind direction, though, as we head into Monday, and that is good news because it should bring some warmer air as well. I know those of you along the south coast of the island have been seeing those warmer temperatures. Unfortunately, it will be a switch. You'll see some cooler temperatures, and then areas that are in the offshore flow will see those warmer temperatures as we head, it looks like, into the week, the middle of the week next week. So that's good news. Now, as far as Labrador is concerned, tonight you're still looking at a wintry mix for central and western portions as well as the north coast. Most of you along the coastal areas of Labrador are going to continue to see that rain tonight. So Environment Canada still has that rainfall warning in place. And you're looking at some more significant rain through the night. And then as far as by the time we get into tomorrow morning, another round of rain will move in across the island. So we're talking not too much tomorrow, but you're still talking about the potential for about 5 to 10 millimeters in some cases, but it's where we're seeing those rainfall warnings. So another 20 to 30 certainly possible for coastal areas of Labrador. Temperatures tonight dipping 2 to 5 degrees overnight, and Labrador you're going to hover around 0 or a little bit below for those of you in the north and west. And then into tomorrow, there's that rain moving through. So most of us will be seeing those periods of rain by the time we get into the afternoon through central. Again, some clearing, southwest corner, and you'll see your showers arrive later in the day. Now, central areas of Labrador, you're still looking at the potential for some either periods of rain or periods of snow tomorrow because your temperatures will be a couple of degrees above 0. And then as we head towards Lab West, that snow will move in late day and into the overnight on into Friday morning, I should say. And then some more showers, the story across the island. Temperatures tomorrow anywhere from 5 to 7 degrees. For the most part, again, mild for the south, but not nearly as mild as today because you probably won't see the sun. 4 to 7 degrees through central. West coast, you're looking at around 10 to 14 degrees. Up across northern portions of the northern peninsula, 5 degrees, Cartwright hovering around +1. And as we look towards the rest of the big land, anywhere from about 1 to 5 degrees through the day. Now, winds will be a bit brisk, northeasterlies anywhere from about 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. But again, you're going to see some improvement in the weather. Once that ridge of high pressure moves in, your temperatures are going to warm up, and it'll definitely feel like spring. I'll get into the long-range forecast coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, nonprofit groups that collect so-called ghost gear are growing concerned about federal funding. Those groups usually retrieve tons of abandoned fishing nets, lines, gear, and ropes that litter coastlines and threaten marine life. Peter Cowan explains their concerns.
Underneath the surface of the cold, clear Atlantic waters lies a dirty secret. Old fishing gear washed away in storms doesn't just look bad. These lobster traps and crab pots continue to kill animals for years.
It's ghost gear fishing and continues to take a very valuable resource that's not able to be harvested commercially or certainly could affect the sustainability of a various species.
Ghost gear is also a major source of ocean plastics. This green rope is ubiquitous in the fishery, and when it's left underwater, it starts to break down. Jess Melvin studies microplastics and often finds fragments of that rope inside fish.
So many of these marine species that are potentially could be ingesting plastics are also important wild food species. So we don't want to see impacts of plastic pollution coming down the line to communities and people who depend on them for wild food.
Over the last 4 years, Fisheries and Oceans Canada has given millions to nonprofit groups to clean up the gear. The government says those efforts have recovered 2,200 tons of old fishing gear, some of it reused and as much as possible recycled. But so far this year, there's a big catch: no funding.
Groups like ours are really stuck in limbo. We can't hire, we can't make season plans, I can't contract any captains, so we're just stuck.
The federal government insists it's still committed to removing ghost gear.
The timelines may be a little different from last year, but the intent is still there to work with those groups to ensure that that they're actively involved in being the stewards of the ocean.
I think we've only scratched the surface.
The groups are itching to get back to work, but warn it'll take months to hire staff and skippers to do the work this year, even after the money's announced. They worry the window is closing to clean up more gear this year. Peter Cowan, CBC News, St. John's.
The rope was through the whale's mouth and around its head.
Well, this wasn't a case of ghost gear gone bad. A humpback whale needed help after getting entangled in Trinity Bay. An expert tells us why that rescue ended in success. That's just ahead. Well, it was a happy ending for one humpback whale entangled in fishing gear this past weekend. As you're about to hear, a team effort was underway in Trinity Bay, and one of the people who helped with that rescue joins me now. Julie Huntington is with the Whale Release and Strandings Group, and she joins us now from Foxtrap. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thanks, Caroline. And you're absolutely right. It's always a team effort.
Let's start at the beginning. How did you first find out about the whale?
We were called on Saturday afternoon by a member of the public, and she informed us that when she was hiking on the trail in New Harbor, that she saw a whale, or saw what appeared to be a whale, entangled in gear. And so she called us up.
And when you arrived on the scene and found the whale, what kind of condition was the whale in? How bad was the entanglement?
Well, all entanglements are bad for a whale. You could see that it had marks on its back all the way to its tail. That rope had been rubbing on that area. The rope wasn't on that area anymore. The rope was through the whale's mouth and around its head.
We mentioned about it being a team effort. Who was there for this rescue?
There was myself and Wayne Ledwell, and then the fishermen Wilfred Williams and Ern Thorne. And they stood by to make sure that we were safe, and they'd let us out to the whale. And also they were able to tell us more about the configuration of the gear so that we knew what we were working with while disentangling the animal.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like it's a pretty challenging thing to do. A humpback is a big, strong creature, and you're leaning precariously over the side of a boat. Can you talk to me about what's involved in this kind of rescue? How do you get the whale out of the net?
They're all different. Like I said before, you have to assess the situation and see how the whale is entangled first. And then you're discussing it before you proceed to do any taking gear off the whale at all. But it's really important when people find a whale like that, that they don't do anything about it, but just notify us and, take some photos and let us know about it. Because though the gear on this whale was keeping it in place, and the whale was not moving off with gear still on it. We were able to take all of the gear off the whale. So herring net is a type of gill net, and it's anchored to the sea floor.
Mm-hmm. How difficult is it to cut away the ropes?
So we have to go cautiously and quietly around the whale to see where the ropes are, if they're on its tail, if they're on its side fins, if they're in through its mouth, around its body. So the last rope we cut is the gear that is the rope that's holding the whale in place. The whale quickly moved on after that, and we didn't see it afterwards, which is generally what happens. A whale gets disentangled, it realizes it's free, and it moves on. And we don't get a wave goodbye or anything.
I guess that's what you want to see. If the whale gets away quickly, I guess it means that it's doing okay. It's strong enough to get away fast.
Yes, we want it to be free of gear totally, so that it can go on with its life processes and just not be entangled in a net, which must be a horrific experience.
Oh, my goodness. I'm sure great relief for that whale. How did you react during that moment when that last bit of rope came off and the whale took off?
Oh, Carolyn, that is an interesting question, and people seem to ask that a lot. And, of course, we're very, very happy that the whale is disentangled and that we have all of the gear off of it. The thing that we're not jumping up and down, but we're pleased that the whale is off and that the fishermen can retrieve their gear and get back to what they're doing with it.
And we do hear a lot about ghost gear and the dangers that it poses to marine life. This was not the case here. This wasn't ghost gear. It was a net that was in use. But even so, is there anything that can be done to protect whales from trap nets like that one?
In the past, there's been alarms. There have been alarms that have been used. Now, the main thing is to make sure that you have the least amount of rope in the water as possible, the least amount of vertical rope. Fishermen are working on this, and it's also being something that is part of their license permit, that they use less rope in the water.
It's a good thing that there are experts around who know how to deal with this kind of situation. Julie Huntington, thank you so much for your time, and congratulations on a successful rescue.
Yep, team effort. Thank you.
Loneliness can be a common affliction for some seniors. A man in Grand Falls, Windsor says a pet can help chase those feelings away. 86-year-old George Thorne recently found a new furry friend in Nellie, a cat that had spent 7 months at the local animal shelter. The CBC's Martin Jones dropped in to meet this perfect pair.
My name is George Thorne. I'm 86.
And you have your hands full now with a brand new roommate, right?
She's not really a big lot of trouble, but she wakes me up in the morning. She wants her breakfast. Well, I had a small dog, a Shih Tzu, and it was great company for me because I've been living alone now for the last 8 years. And I felt like, well, I had someone to talk to. But anyway, we got used to each other, and then the dog got sick. And the next morning, she passed away. So I was here for probably a couple of weeks or more. And I talked to my children, and I said, I think I should get another pet. I decided to go over to the SPCA, and this one I seen, I felt, well, it was the right cat for me. Her name was Nellie. They were hoping that someone would adopt her. She's been here now for 7 months. Nobody adopted her.
Right.
So I decided time for her to get a home. I brought her home, and she hid away all that day. The next day, she was all over me. So we fit it right in.
George, what would you say to people, maybe a senior kind of thing, living alone, who'd like some companionship too? What would you say to them?
I would highly recommend it. From experience now, I do know that they are a big help in loneliness.
Yeah.
Just to know that they're around, there's something alive around you.
Does she show appreciation for the fact that you saved her from 7 months at the kennel, right?
She does, because she'll come and rub her head up against me and around my legs.
Yeah.
Now, either she wants something, or she thank you for something.
Or maybe both.
Yeah.
One of this country's most wanted fugitives has been arrested in Charlottetown. Michael Bebby was taken into custody last night at a business in the city. The 35-year-old man is wanted in connection with a murder in Toronto last summer. The arrest came after Toronto police received tips that he could be on Prince Edward Island and contacted their counterparts there. Toronto police detectives will travel to PEI in the coming days to escort the man back to Ontario. Last week, police offered a $100,000 reward for information leading to his arrest. A Quebec Superior Court judge has rejected an injunction request to remove a pro-Palestinian encampment protest at McGill University. She says the students who filed it failed to show the protest causes irreparable harm. Students there say they are relieved but cautious.
We were expecting it to be rejected, so yeah, we're very, very happy.
If they do not listen to the injunction, I think that says a lot about them and their lack of respect for student voices.
The protest has been growing since it started Saturday. The group says it's determined to stay put until the university divests from companies who have business interests in Israel. McGill says some protesters are not affiliated with the school. It wants the encampment to come down immediately. already looking forward to this weekend. So it is going to like change a little bit, right? We have something to look forward to.
We certainly do. At least us in the east is going to be the opposite story for those of you that have been enjoying the beautiful weather for the last couple of days. But let's take a look at what's going on. So the pattern is going to shift a little bit. So here's your Thursday, and we're still going to see some showers through the day on Friday. The weather will eventually improve up across Labrador because it has been a wintry mix for those of you across the Big Land. But there's a ridge of high pressure to the north, and that is going to start to sink south as we head through the day, or through the day on Friday, and then eventually into Saturday. So it is going to clear things out. That's the good news. Temperatures across the Big Land will sit anywhere from 0 to about +5. Again, those single-digit temperatures, the story across the island, 4 to 6 or 7 degrees through the day. Still looking at temperatures into the double digits, though, as you head towards the southwest. So Port aux Basques around 12 degrees through the day. Marystown will hover around +6. So this is when we will see the ridge of high pressure dominate. It's still going to keep us an onshore flow, but the chance of fog, at least this widespread fog that we're seeing, will be a little less. And we should see some peaks of sun, especially for the west coast, and even through parts of central as we head through the afternoon. The trend should be a clearing one through the day. That will be the story up across the Big Land as well. So this will allow the temperatures to warm up again for mainly the west and the south coast, still around the single digits though. As we head into the afternoon hours, we may see temperatures warm up a little bit more than that, but still hanging around 3 degrees for St. John's for the Saturday, and the chances of drizzle will linger through the day. It's by the time we get into Sunday, and then Monday, I'm probably being a little bit, putting a temperature of 14 degrees might be a bit, well, whatever. Let's see what happens. But I'm going to keep it there for now. But we're still looking at some sunshine for Sunday late in the day, and then Monday as well. And hopefully this continues. And then for central Newfoundland, we're looking at that warm up as well. We should hover around 12 to 13 degrees by the time we get into Sunday and Monday. However, it does look like the showers will return late day on Monday. And then for western Newfoundland, clearing skies happening on Saturday. Sunday looks absolutely beautiful, 13 degrees and sunshine, and a return of those showers for your Monday, but hanging on to those double digits just barely. Now for eastern Labrador, you're looking at a nice stretch of weather by the time we get into Saturday and Sunday. Monday, return to those showers around 10 degrees. And then for western Labrador, overall, the trend will be to warm up, not by much, but you're still looking at a warm up. By Monday, though, return to the chances of some flurries, and that's because your overnight low will sit around 0 degrees. Now, it does make for some beautiful pictures. The fog does. And this is a great shot of from Ladies Lookout on Signal Hill there. Pauline shared this great shot with us. I love that, beautiful in the sun, in the fog, as long as you can see a little bit of it. Thank you so much for that. If you have any weather photos that you'd like to share with us, any dramatic weather photos you'd like to share with us, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Oh, it's a great shot. Is that where the eagles are?
It is.
I wonder how they're doing.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Alex Sui usually takes some photos of the eagles. We should check in on his social media and see.
Good idea.
See how the eagles are doing. And I love your optimism for Monday. I'm holding on to that hope that it's going to be 14 degrees with some sunshine.
I'm going to keep it there.
All right, love it. All right, that's it for us. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good night.